this race.
Monster run off turn 2.
Can't get it to the high side. Here he comes. There he goes. Oh, no, Kansas saves, and here they come to the line.
I'm a fortune teller who sees the future, and I see it now.
I'm expecting something with Ferrari this weekend, and he ended up at Hendrick somehow.
Oh, God. No, please. Oh, God. I don't like that thought.
Driving to 5.
I can see the goosebumps that just hit Jacob just now.
Carson.
A couple weeks ago, the season officially kicked off with the Daytona 500, with my second favorite driver winning the Daytona 500. I was super pumped. You and I were talking about that a little bit. How did you enjoy the 500 this year? Personally, for me, I'd say it was the worst 500 with the next gen era, but it was still actually a really good race.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I thought it was a good race. I thought it was, definitely not the best next gen era super speedway race, but I did think it was very entertaining, and I did think there were some interesting things going on. And, the whole fuel strategy thing was a thing of its own. But ultimately, I thought it was an entertaining race. I thought it just, to me, and you know this because of the way I reacted, and, it felt a lot like the Super Bowl with the Eagles and the Chiefs, where that game I thought was awesome, and then it ended up being decided by a penalty. And that's what this felt like, where, I've watched all the clips. Yes, NASCAR's been much faster with the button. I don't know why the guy didn't have his hand hovering over the button this time, but he didn't. And sometimes I do understand their reasoning, because it's lackadaisical when it comes to coming to the white or on the white flag, especially at Daytona, where if a car spins, if it's out of the way, they're fine with it. So I do think their reasoning is entirely solid. And my biggest thing that I took issue with the ending was that it took so long to actually explain it. First off, it should have been explained on the broadcast, and I have about 500 people that would agree with me that liked my post on Twitter about that. So it should have been explained on the broadcast, plain and simple, because we're at a point, we had this new Netflix show and everything. NASCAR's trying to earn these new fans, and you're trying to keep them. I, as a fan of somebody, I've been watching this for a long time. I didn't fully understand. I understood that it's the caution light, but then when you look at certain camera angles, the caution light came on and Bowman's ahead. So they didn't explain it well enough. It should have been explained much more, and that's not because because everybody didn't understand it. That's just because that's what you should do. If the NFL has a penalty that's going to kind of decide the game, they're going to bring the rules analyst in. They're going to watch it 15 freaking times and talk about it. NASCAR, the only thing we saw was an Alex Bowman onboard, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
And then it took an hour to show that photo. So I get that that's not entirely on NASCAR, and that's on the Fox production team, which needs work in and of itself. But ultimately, I was disappointed with how the biggest race of the season ended, and I think it's fitting for how that whole weekend went, where I don't think a single one of those races finished under green. So it's just difficult with it. Atlanta definitely made up for it. Austin Hill's race might have, but they still wrecked big time.
Xfinity race finished under green.
Okay. Still, they wrecked big time on that. Just a lot of wrecks. And I think Atlanta was that breath of fresh air that we needed, with them actually having that finish was what I said. Imagine Bowman and Byron side by side coming to the white. You get my point.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. And and like I said, I'm a Byron fan as well, but I was mad at the finish as well. Would I have been completely okay with if Bowman won? Yes, because it would have broke the win streak. The storylines would have been awesome, because think of what Alex Bowman has had to go through in his career, and he still has doubters. Every racer has doubters, but Alex Bowman is the most, I don't know how to properly phrase that, but he's the most underappreciated driver at Hendrick right now. And yes, is he probably I don't want to say the worst, but does he not have as much talent as Kyle Larson? Yes. But can he drive a race car? Yes. He can drive the wheels off a race car. But anyway, no, if Bowman won, I think the storylines would have been great. But either way, with Byron winning, the storylines were still great because it was literally Hendrick's 40th anniversary to the day of them putting a race car on the track for the first time in Daytona with Jeff Bodine in the 1984 Daytona 500. And with it being Hendrick's 40th anniversary, how fitting that the 24 car, the Hendrick's easily most iconic car number, wins the Daytona 500 10 years after Dale Jr. won his second 500.
Yeah, it definitely felt very fitting for sure. It felt like it was, if anybody was to call it scripted, this would be the time. I'm not saying that at all. I think it was a fantastic finish, and I think that, let me just say I have nothing against William Byron. I'm very happy he won the race. I just wanted more clarification from NASCAR. So any of my frustration is not directed at good old Willie B, because he's a Lego man like myself. So of course I'm not going to hate on Willie B. You kidding me?
Very true.
What is he? How old is he?
He is he's at least 4 years older than I am. So I would assume he's at least 28. Hold on. Let me look this up. He is, oh my gosh, he's younger than I thought. He's 26.
Yeah, dude's just a bro.
Like, oh my God.
He's just a bro. I have friends that are older than him. Like, he's a bro.
Oh man, I love William Byron though. But yeah, good Daytona 500. I'm not gonna say it was a great Daytona 500. It was a good Daytona 500. And then the truck and ARCA races were hot messes. Man, I stayed up watching all that. I regret it. I regretted it so hard because I had to work the next day.
That's why you got to live on the West Coast.
Man, if only it was, if only it was a little cheaper to live out there. But hey, we're not going to say
it. Don't get me riled up here.
Nope, not going to say anything on air.
So Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. Literally, maybe top 5 race in NASCAR history, Cup Series history.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to the finish of Atlanta, what in the world was that race?
Very interesting, to say the least.
We're here like literally 10 days, more than that. We're here, right about 10 days later. I'm still blown away at what we saw in Atlanta. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There was great racing with what we saw with the truck race. The truck race wasn't a bad race. It wasn't a great race, we'll say that. But the Xfinity race was awful. That was a bad race. So that made me a little worried about the Cup race. But in the back of my mind, I remember that both 2023 Atlanta races were fantastic. So that gave me some reassurance heading into Sunday, and I was blown away. I was blown away.
Absolutely. I think it's really, really, it's unique. It's becoming a kind of its own thing, separate from Daytona and Talladega. And now that the track is kind of aging, we're seeing a lot more of the older version of Daytona. Like we're getting to a point where Atlanta's going to have its own fling, its own style to it. That I think all of us as fans are going to start to really enjoy. It's just one of those things that we don't want to see every single week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, man, I don't know. For new fans in the sport, that's hard for them to understand because that's not racing every single week, like you said. And that's a problem with having Daytona and Atlanta back to back with the new style of Atlanta. And don't get me wrong, I like it. I'm okay with it, but that's the problem with having Daytona and Atlanta having them back to back. Because think of fans who watched the Netflix documentary. New fans say, "Oh wow, I want to watch the Daytona 500. I want to try watching this for the season." So they watch Daytona and Atlanta, which are pack racing, and then get to Las Vegas. They're like, why is it so spread out? Why does Kyle Larson have a 3-second lead over Tyler Reddick? That's just how the Cup Series is. There are different style of racing throughout the Cup Series calendar year. You have to be good at plate tracks, short tracks, intermediate tracks, street courses, road courses, and not this year, but last year you had to be good at dirt tracks as well.
It's that variety that sets them apart from others, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But overall, where would you rate the finish of Atlanta amongst the top finishes in Cup Series history?
I'm one of those people that I think recency bias is big, and I think that I'm not rating it at all because I will feel differently about it at the end of the year.
That's fair.
So I'll rate it at the end of the year, but for now, I feel like there's too much recency bias. Like everybody jumped right to that, like, oh, this is the best moment of all time. You're gonna come back on that.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna bring that down to like 3 or 4 by the end of so just like that's how I feel, and so I don't want to jump the gun with it because I would put it at like 2, or but at the same time, like it's probably like 5. Realistically, because when you think about just the way the racing is, the way the air works, and everything, like all of that, like me being a diehard NASCAR fan, understanding the cars and everything, just there is the slightest pinch that was taken out of that because of that. Because it's not some driving the shit out of the cars like Ricky Craven, and that it's driving slot cars and hoping for the best so that was kind of just the slightest hair taken off of it that bumps it down like 5 for me, probably.
But and we'll say it multiple times that it was one of the best finishes in Cup Series history.
100%.
Do I think that it was better than 2003 Darlington? Do I think it was better than 2011 Talladega? No. But is it amongst the greatest? Yes. But at the end of the year, we can promise you that we will come back and talk about this at the end of the year.
Oh yeah.
And so Daniel, and to top all that, there was a bit of a surprise winner in Daniel Suarez.
Amigo.
He needed that win, and I'm not just saying that because of the winless streak, but he needed that win. Trackhouse and him needed that win. Yeah, they won at Phoenix last year with Ross to cap out the season, but both him and Trackhouse needed that win. They really did.
Well, especially because you think about the amount of pressure that was on him for the way his teammate has performed. It was definitely needed and allows that a little bit heading into the rest of the season. There's still some pressure. They're still going to need to perform, but they're going to be able to do it at a different level than what they could have been because they're going to be able to take risks that some other teams are not going to be able to take.
And just think about Trackhouse. They have been involved in some of the craziest moments in NASCAR history and over the last 2-3 years.
They are a gold mine for NASCAR, if you will.
And since I am now in my apartment, I'm living with my fiance now, and she's relatively new into racing, and I explain like how the cars work, how the drafting, yada yada yada. And so when I told her that Trackhouse and Ross are the biggest thing in NASCAR over the last couple of years, and I had to explain to her as to why, she understood it because of the wall ride at Martinsville, the Gregson and Ross fight at Kansas, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. They've been at the forefront of a lot of that stuff. They've created a lot of viral moments for this sport that will be remembered for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. But now that we're done with Atlanta, let's talk about Las Vegas, or as I like to call it, the Kyle Larson playground.
He had a day, and yeah, nobody could beat him. I think William Byron was probably his best competitor, but Byron got put to the back really, really early on, and really just never was able to find his way back to for that.
Yeah, and Reddick was good. He was strong all day long, but there was no stopping that 5 car. And I don't know if you saw my tweet the other night. Here, let me pull it back up, because I tweeted something the other night. I did some research on it.
Okay.
Let's see. So this was the tweet that I sent out that same night. I think we can now officially say that Las Vegas is Kyle Larson's best racetrack on the Cup Series schedule. Dating back to March of 2021, 608 laps led in an average finish of 7.42 and 3 wins. I think that's fair. And don't get me wrong, let's see. So where were we? Sorry. He had Michigan. He had Michigan for a couple years. That was his best track, but now it's Las Vegas. It's Las Vegas easily.
Well, he's got plenty more races to come at Las Vegas, and it's a playoff track, so that's going to play right into his favor for sure.
Well, if he can get through the first round, of course, of the playoffs, because guess what? Atlanta's on the playoff schedule now in the first round.
That's not going to do him any favors.
No, I can already say that no. So Larson gets the victory in Las Vegas for the 3rd time in his career, like I said. And I'm just curious about this. How many wins do you think Larson's going to get this year?
5.
5. I can agree with that. I think like the 4 or 5 range I can see, because he's already won Las Vegas. I'll say Kansas, Spring, Dover. I don't think he'll win again until Darlington. I think he'll go back-to-back in the Southern 500. And then I think he will... I think he'll win at Texas. But we'll see. We'll see.
Some good predictions there.
But I think 5 races is fair. And I try to stay as non-biased as I can. But Kyle's been my championship pick all year, even before 2024 even got underway. Do I want that to become reality? Yes. But that's what, professionally as a writer and a journalist, that's what I think will happen.
We'll see if you have the Martin Truex luck this year. It might be you. It might be you.
It might be you.
The chosen one.
Speaking of it might be you, I want to talk about one of the young mans in the Truck Series, Rajah Caruth. That last Friday, historic win for Rajah, getting his first career Truck Series win, and it's his first NASCAR win in generals. And Spire has been lights out fast this year.
Oh yeah, they've been really, really good, and I think that there was a lot of high expectations for Raja, and I think he kind of really stepped up, answered the call, and did a fantastic job. And this was after we heard he was going to get the sponsor backing, and this is how he responded to that. This is a great response to that, and could be a sign of the potential for him in the future.
I really think that Raja can win. I think he'll win at least 3 races this year and be a championship 4 driver.
Oh, 100%.
And
Could definitely be a possibility, especially with that equipment.
And like I said, and yeah, they won 2 drafting tracks this year to begin the season, but they have been bad fast the past 3 weeks to begin the season. They have been really fast because they're in old Kyle Busch Motorsports equipment, which has been the best equipment for the most part in the truck series for like the last 10 years or so. So think about that. It's the same guys from KBM working at Spire now on the trucks, and like I said, they have just been fast. Nick Sanchez getting the win at Daytona, Kyle Busch getting the truck series win in Atlanta, and now Raja getting his first win in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think they've been a part of some big ones, and I think that them developing at this level is going to really help them out in the future for sure, especially considering, who knows, Raja could be a.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. And I loved it. Where I think it was his interview where he was thinking Rick Hendrick in his interview, and whenever you see young drivers doing that, that's awesome. That's awesome to see, because Chase did the same thing when he was in Junior Motorsports. William did the same thing. It's always fun to see that, because you're getting a phone call, or you're getting backing from the guy in NASCAR. You're getting sponsorship and backing from the boss.
Yeah, I think there's no better guy to be able to have, by your side and backing you up. And I think that it was a sign of confidence for him this week. And look what he did with a little bit of confidence. Definitely took what he got and ran away with it.
And I will say one more thing before we move on from Las Vegas last weekend. Noah Gragson getting his first career top 10 in the Cup Series. It was a really rough season last year, outside of the suspension, but it was a rough season for him at Legacy last year. But he had a really good run in Las Vegas last week, in P6 for him, and starting in, I believe, 30th position in qualifying. But he had a really fast race car.
Yeah, SHR did a lot of work to get their cars, pointed in the right direction, but they did a good job. And Gregson was their top dog on Sunday, and he did a fantastic job. And it's nice to see him run well and good equipment. It was him and Ty Gibbs that we got to see them side by side, and it was nice to see the two of them run well from their Xfinity days to now the Cup days as well.
Well, hopefully, and maybe. I don't know if it'll be this year, maybe next year. Maybe we'll see that first Noah Gragson Cup Series win. So, now that we are done with Las Vegas, let's move on to obviously our favorite track on the schedule. And I know you're a little biased on this. Phoenix. Honestly, I'm not looking. Well, I'm half and half on this. Phoenix, it's not the greatest track for the next-gen car, but it's the real first true test of the season for how the new aero package is going to do.
Well, I think the spring race has provided a lot of surprises over the last couple of years, and I think that it's possible we could, maybe see that again. I think it's going to be a good race, and just straight up giving you my, prediction, it's going to be Logano in victory lane.
That's somewhat of a bold prediction, but I can see it. I think it's a little it might be a little disrespectful of me to say a 2-time champion is a bold prediction, but Logano hasn't had the best runs over the years or last year, excuse me. But I could see it. I really could see it. Because he's won there at least twice in the past, from what I remember. So I wouldn't be surprised if Logano wins there.
Oh yeah. Who do you think wins?
Man, it's hard to argue against Ryan Blaney.
Mm-hmm.
It's super hard to argue against Ryan Blaney because I think, if I remember correctly, dating back to the fall of 2021, he's had like a 7.0 average finish at Phoenix, somewhere around there.
He's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
And he really should have won the race last year and in 2022. So I think I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney for.
I like that a lot.
And if I were to pick a dark horse, man, who would I pick as a dark horse? For some reason, I'm feeling SHR. I don't know why. I truly don't know why.
Briscoe had his first win there. That's why.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This is going to be really dumb of me. Ryan Preece, why not?
Okay, I like it. Not a bad pick.
But we'll find out on Sunday. Oh, let me get the details up here. Details on Sunday. Come on. Oh, it's not loading for me. It is on Fox this coming Sunday at 3:30 p.m.
All right, I will be tuned in. 1:30 local time.
There we go. And don't forget, this Sunday it is daylight savings time. Not that it applies to you. Yeah.
No, it does. It does. Not as much as you think. I don't move my clocks, but now Eastern time is 3 hours ahead, which is disgusting.
That is pretty gross, actually.
It also means my hometown in Illinois is 2 hours ahead, so it just makes it all the worse. Makes things that much more difficult. Just nasty.
And Mason, do you have anything else that you want to add to this before we wrap up for the evening?
No, I think we kind of covered everything, and it's definitely good to get back in and be able to talk racing again. I appreciated the, getting to talk about it again with with one of my good friends. It's always a good time coming on here, and I hope everybody enjoyed another good episode for sure.
And I don't know if you were keeping track, but it's literally been 6 months since you and I have just recorded between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how crazy it's been for not only you, but for me as well. But so hopefully next week we'll get Chris on here and we can have a fully fledged episode of Coming to the Line. Because I know you said that your schedule should be freeing up hopefully relatively soon. So that should make it easier on both of us, not only with recording. And so I think we're both looking forward to that.
Absolutely. It's always fun to have the season back going again. And thank you again for everybody who supported us last year. It's good to be back once again.
Because and I don't know if you have, but I missed doing this. It was really weird for a while there, not recording monthly.
Well, hey, now we get back into it. We get back to the consistency, races every day. That's exactly what we want.
And Mason, before we wrap up, where can we find you on BSP and on social media?
Yeah, you guys can find me in the the football and the motorsports section over on BSP. I have done a little bit of basketball work with the Suns and stuff like that. But you guys can find me there. On Twitter, you guys can find me at Mace Hollywood as well. Mason.wood01 over on Instagram.
And guys, you can find me in our motorsports section on BSP. Excuse me, sorry. And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at JWBarker24. Got a couple of posts that I'm hoping to come out relatively soon. Maybe another championship seasons. You never know. We'll see. We shall see. All right, guys. I think that'll do it for us this episode of Coming to the Line. Once again, my name is Jacob Barker. I am once again joined by my good friend Mason Wood. And like I said, we're hoping that we'll have Chris with us next time. That way you can have the full gong show of the three of us together. But once again, we thank you so much for watching. Coming to the Line, we hope that you have a safe and healthy day as always. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this most recent edition of the Outside Line podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to check us out on Spotify at The Outside Line. And if you liked Christopher, Jacob, and I's opinions, make sure to check us out on Bagsport's page for more articles and opinions about F1, NASCAR, and IndyCar. Thank you again for watching The Outside Line.